main sound, if you can just pull that up, that would be great. Although you can hear me fine, can't you? Does it sound like it's coming out of here or out of there? Out of here? Out of there? Both? Are we good? Okay, is it better now? Oh, Graham is back there. Everybody wave to Graham. Okay, thank you, Graham. All right, now let's try to get your brain back into where we were. Okay, what is it that you're noticing in this little section that we read? Go for it, Keith. Questions can also be observations. What happened to your thumb? That's the question. Okay.
So the first question I have is, are these people kin to each other?
Okay, so that's a really good question. First, let's just make the observation that's the beginning of this, and that is, man, we've been given a lot of names for just 4 people. And then the question becomes, are all of these people related to one another? Are they kin? Okay, we'll get into that.
My second part of that question is, when you say that there is a messenger, how does he get that message without being seen or heard? You know what I mean? It's like, how does this guy get out of sight?
Okay, so we're kind of going back to last week a little bit. How does the messenger get out of sight to get to David to give him the word? If you remember, there was a very brief story where they leave, but they're seen, and they know they're seen, so they hide in a well, and they cover it, and they put grain over it to make it look like it's just ground, and then they get out and they get the word out. So it's like spy stuff, yeah. But the question is, are these people related? Okay, so Melissa, what are you observing? Okay, so these people bring food and provisions, and then we're given a clarifying statement there, aren't we, in verse 20, at the end of verse 29, for they said the people have become exhausted and hungry and thirsty in the wilderness. Okay, what else are you guys noticing? Really talkative group tonight. Okay, let me come up with a couple of observations I just want to make sure aren't missed. First, I want you just to take note because it can be really easy to move over this and it's going to become confusing later. The people who are with Absalom are called the Israelites. And in other places, it's going to be called the Israelite army. So I just want to make note of that. The people who are with Absalom are called or referenced as the Israelites. Just take note of that. And then everybody else would be the people who are with David. Okay? So let's name a couple of the people that are mentioned in this story that seem to have note with them. First, you have the army officer, the guy who's running the army, and his name is, does anybody remember his name is? Amasa. He is taking over for, it tells us, for Joab. Okay, and then the second group of people that you find here are these 3 people who have come and brought the provisions. You have Shobi, you have Machir, and you have Barzillai. Great names. All of those people have come with provisions to bring to the people. And in each place, there is given either a location of where they're from or the family that they're connected to. Go ahead.
A question again. Is Amasa and Shobi brother-in-laws?
Are Amasa and Shobi brother-in-laws? Because Nahash is mentioned for Shobi, and who's mentioned for Amasa? Nahash. Yep. So most likely, yes. Let me just, I think this is easy to just move into some interpreting so we can move forward with this. It seems like most of these people are somehow connected in relation. If you would kind of just parse this out a little bit, Joab is also related to Amasa who took over for him. Okay? And Joab, if you'll go back, is actually related to David. Okay, so it's very, inbred is not the right word. That's too crude of a word. but it's very interconnected, very familial here. But now you're getting the sense. It's not just Absalom and David who are divided here. Even their entire family are divided. Okay. Now, they have gone out into the wilderness, and I have brought a map with me tonight that I stole off of biblicalwarfare.com. Isn't that an amazing? Whoa! It's not as intense of a website as this sounds, okay? But I just want you to look at this map so you can see a couple of things. The Dead Sea, if you would remember in any map, the Dead Sea is actually in the southern part of Israel. And what connects the Dead Sea with the Sea of Galilee is the Jordan River. And in between is called the Jordan River Valley. Jerusalem, and that's all you need to know. Jerusalem is the far left of that purple arrow or line that you see on the western part of the map. That's where David had been. He left Jerusalem, and so when he crossed the Jordan, that's where he crossed it, that far away. Those of you who remember, who went to Israel with us, we left Jerusalem and went down the big mountain towards the Dead Sea. We were about halfway down the Dead Sea, and you remember how far that felt. David marched all the way across the Jordan River. Did I say the Red Sea or the Dead Sea? I meant the Dead Sea if I said red. Okay. And then he found his way to Mahanaim, which is the city to the far east, just below that little brown spot that's marked out there that's called the Forest of Ephraim. We'll get to that forest in just a second. You can see the span that's being covered here now. Think about this. David had not crossed the Jordan when the people had told him, go ahead and cross the Jordan. But you can see he had about half the span of time to get from across the Jordan to Mahanaim before Absalom is able to get there. I'm just trying to get a time picture in your brain. He has plenty of time to set up camp and prepare for what's coming. But they've covered a large territory. And the people are hungry, and they're thirsty, and they're probably getting a little bit like the people of Israel coming out of the wilderness. They're grumbling. And so these three have come to bring provisions for them. Where they come from sort of matters, but not really. The main point here is they have come to support David. We now have what would in essence be a civil war. You have some even brothers and sisters from the same family on different sides of this whole battle. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Oh man, I don't know. I don't want to venture a guess to that. Tell me why you ask. Oh, the Gileadite. Okay, don't hold me to this, okay? I think Gilead, I remember it being in the north, if I'm correct. Somebody can check me on that, but I'm pretty sure that Gilead is in the north. But don't hold me to that. But I guess the point, Nancy, is people are traveling from all over. I mean, we're going to see in just a moment. I just want you to start looking with the lenses of numbers as we're reading. Because I'll just say this, and you can confirm if this is how you feel. As I've been reading this narrative all these weeks, I'm thinking right now, in my brain, hundreds of people have been walking with David. That's the number is in my brain. Is anybody else thinking along those same lines? Sort of. Has anybody been thinking a lot more people than that? You were? How many were you thinking?
I was thinking like thousands, but you just mentioned that they were coming from different directions.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to stop you there before you spoil the whole thing, Jerry. But we're going to, yeah. Thousands is exactly what we're going to be looking at. But just keep track of the number, because in my brain it's been, I mean, even if it's 1,000, that's not that much compared to what we're about to see. So let's dig in here to chapter 18 and start in verse 1. Yes, ma'am.
So I looked at Gilead.
Okay.
It said east of the Jordan River in modern-day northwestern Jordan.
Okay, so I was way off, but, okay. Gilead is east of the Jordan in modern-day northwestern Jordan. So the country of Jordan, across the Jordan River, northwest. So probably around where we are. Yeah. Thank you, Diane. David mustered the men who were with him and appointed over them commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds. And let me just read that again. Plural, commanders of thousands, and plural, commanders of hundreds. David sent out his troops, a third under the command of Joab, there's that name, a third under Joab's brother Abishai, son of Zeruiah, and a third under Ittai the Gittite. The king told the troops, I myself will surely march out with you. But the men said, you must not go out. If we are forced to flee, they won't care about us. Even if half of us die, they won't care. But you are worth 10,000 of us. It would be better now for you to give us support from the city. The king answered, I'll do whatever seems best to you. So the king stood beside the gate while all his men marched out in units of hundreds and of thousands. The king commanded Joab, Abishai, and Ittai, be gentle with the young man Absalom for my sake. And all the troops heard the king giving orders concerning Absalom to each of the commanders. Let's stop there and do a little bit of work real quick before we keep going. What are you noticing here? You hear the number, right? Jerry was correct. Thousands, and it's not just 1,000. There are multiple commands of 1,000. So at least 2,000. And I'm thinking it's probably a lot more. My mind is trying to picture what that looks like as an encampment in Mahanaim or outside of it. My mind is trying to picture what this looks like moving through the wilderness, following David, people mourning and trying to figure out what's next. That's a different picture than I had in my brain when it's just David walking with some of his soldiers and Shimei is sitting there cursing him and throwing rocks. You remember? Totally different picture in my brain. That was helpful for me to read. What else are you noticing here, though, David?
I'm struck by the fact that they still refer to David as a king.
Okay.
He's fled the capital of the kingdom.
They're still referring to David as king, even though he has fled the capital, which is Jerusalem. Okay, great observation. What else are you noticing?
Be gentle with my son.
Yes, this statement. Now let's make a couple of observations here. The first is there in verse 5, be gentle with the young man Absalom for my sake. And then I want you to notice the very next sentence. And all the troops heard the king giving orders concerning Absalom to each of the commanders. Can we say foreshadowing? Right here. Okay, that was interpretive, but I own it. Okay, what else? What else are you guys noticing? Donna? Say that one more time. Are they willing to die for him? Well, what do you think? Okay, you're making the observation that they say, stay here. That's right. Stay here. You're worth 10,000 of us. And you're just making note, there almost seems to be a pledge in this. We're going off to do this for you. Yeah. What else? Say that one more time, Karen. Oh, yeah. And so this is the king, and he's speaking to the commanders, and the commanders say, do not go out with us. And David's response is, I'll do what seems best to you. Greg?
No inquiry of God.
Okay, when was the last time we heard that God was inquired of? Does anybody remember? It's been a while. But that's a great observation. No inquiry of God yet. Yeah, Jerry?
Since you were there, I had a question because I'm visualizing this and everything. What would it look like? You were in that area.
You know, we weren't actually in the east of the Jordan. So, because that's Jordan, the country. We did get to look over, and we did get to be on the west side of the Jordan River. And, you know, Rod's not here tonight, is he? Gosh, the one time I need Rod to be here. All right. Rod made a really great observation while we were there, connecting it to Psalm 23, because when you look out, it is very, what we would refer to as like West Texas brown. And rocks everywhere, and yet you have an entire flock of sheep being led by a shepherd. And what we know is those sheep are eating little bitty pieces of grass that show up, and they're licking the rocks from the dew in the morning, and it's enough. But what Rod said was, you could see why it would mean a lot that the shepherd leads them to green pastures, you know. It's very desolate. And yet, in a moment, if it rains up the mountain, that whole area can flood immediately. So it's a really weird, extreme place. And you could see how they would be thirsty. What doesn't translate about my experience there, though, was they're about to enter into the forest of Ephraim. And I couldn't tell you what that forest must have looked like because they're going to reference oak trees. I don't remember seeing any of that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit of a different environment. But yeah, it's very, deserty is the key.
With 10,000 traveling in the desert, maybe putting up their tents and setting up their boundaries you were talking about, that movement alone would scare me, like you were saying, about the floods that come down there. You see a wave of something from a distance without binoculars. You couldn't tell what it was, and then all of a sudden somebody comes back and says, "Got a lot of people over there."
Yes, yeah. I mean, anybody who would be up on a hill. We were up on Masada, which is up, and you could look out and you could see forever. And you wouldn't be able to tell there were people, but you would see a mass of something. Yeah, there's a lot of people. Okay, well let's try to keep moving so we don't get lost. But let me just say, first of all, we have a lot of people, but they're very organized. And David has organized them. This is what a leader does, and this is why he's an important leader. He organizes them. He has fought a lot of battles. He's led a lot of people through. If you remember, the whole way we were introduced to David, David has killed his thousands, or tens of thousands. Saul has killed his, hundreds, or was it 1,000, whatever. David is a great warrior, and he's a great leader of armies. He knows what he's doing. He divides them up, and his trusty men that he's had with him, Joab is one of them, right there with him, Abishai, right there with him. And he sends them off to battle. He says, "I'm coming with you." And they're like, "Nope, you're too important. Everyone has come here because of you. If you die, this whole thing's over. You're staying here." So David does what a good king does. He stands at the gate, and he sees his troops off. He doesn't go hide in his tent. He doesn't go take up residence in some comfortable place. He stands there as they all pass by him, and that's intended to be an encouragement to them. They look him in the eyes, and they see who they're fighting for, and they head off into the forest of Ephraim. Now, I do think it's something to note, two things to note here. One, that David has the humility to listen to his leaders. What's best for you? Secondly, I think it's really helpful to note that he does give this instruction to his commanders. Be gentle with the young man. A couple of things I want you to notice there. He references him as a young man. This is a father speaking about his son. And he is, in essence, minimizing this guy who has come out to kill him, his own son. And he's calling for his leaders to be gentle, which means don't kill him if you don't have to. Karen? Okay, I think maybe a little bit of both. Humanizing for sure. He is, he is definitely calling them to see him as this little boy that he remembers probably holding, kind of thing. And somebody close to me, that's exactly right. We're watching the emotion of David, and let me just suggest to you, because we're going to watch this later, we're watching David's inability to separate the role of king and father again be a problem. The same thing that happened with, my mind just went blank on his name, his other son that raped Tamar. Gosh, why did Amnon, thank you. Same problem there. He needs to be king. He can't allow himself to do it. He becomes father more. Same thing's going on here. So he sends them off. David's army, in verse 6, they marched out of the city to fight Israel, and the battle took place in the forest of Ephraim. So looking at the map, you can see where we are. There, Israel's troops were routed by David's men, and the casualties that day were great. Listen to the number. 20,000 men. The battle spread out over the whole countryside, and the forest swallowed up more men that day than the sword. So I'm just going to move us through this section without doing a lot of observation. It's very, very clear. There's a forest. That's where they've chosen to have the battle. The people of Israel come out, meaning the people following Absalom. 20,000 of them die. And what we're told is that the forest wreaks more havoc on them than the men that they're actually fighting. So what that tells me is that David knew this is a difficult place to fight a battle. He has drawn them into, with his experience as a warrior, he has drawn them into the forest of Ephraim because he knows they have the upper hand here. And whether it's trees that are sharp and poking them, if it's something falling on them, if it's caverns that they don't know are there because the trees are covering it and they're falling into them. Something, we're not described what, something is taking out more men than this sword actually takes. Nate, what were you going to say? Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yep. That's right. Boy, that's a very deep read that you're probably onto something about. If you couldn't hear Nate, you know, he's recalling the name of Israel comes from Genesis when Jacob wrestles with God. He gets renamed Israel, and Israel means wrestles with God. And you're basically saying it's the people of Israel who are getting killed here, and is there some sort of deeper connection between the people of Israel wrestling with God, God's chosen one, David? I'm sure you could preach a great sermon on that. And I'm sure that there's a deep meaning to that I think is a good one. Very much there's a lot to discover there. Let me just bring you a little bit back to the surface, though, to see these are the people who have given their hearts to Absalom. You remember, that's how it's described along the way. He won the hearts of the people of Israel. And as I wanted you to see there at the very, very beginning, it's the people of Israel, their description is they're the ones following Absalom. So it comes back to your point, David, and that is they're still calling David king, the ones who are with him. But Absalom has really taken the kingship. He's the king of the people. And they've come now to fight this king who they once followed, but have chosen to turn against. And whether that's fighting with God or not, the reality is they've chosen the wrong man. 20,000 of them get routed in this little place. Now, I have hang on, Jim, let me just say this one thing and then I want to come to you. I have underlined, and the forest swallowed up more men that day than the sword, with an arrow pointed down to the next paragraph. To me, this is a generalized statement that's going to be particularized in the next section. We're going to get a lot of description of what they mean by that. Jim, what were you going to say? Sure, the anointed, yeah. Yeah. Let's talk it. Well, sort of, but not the same. I think kind of what Nate's referring to here is, yes, Saul was anointed, but his actual anointing was taken away from him, or his blessing at least. David could have killed him, chose not to because he was the anointed one of God. First of all, Absalom is not doing that, and second of all, who we know David to be, and also that includes our hindsight, who he becomes in the future, is a chosen one of God. And the people of Israel have seemed to jump without God's leading to Absalom. Yeah. All right, let's keep moving so we don't get lost. Now, Absalom happened to meet David's men. He was riding his mule, and as the mule went under the thick branches of a large oak, Absalom's hair got caught in the tree. This is great writing, honestly. He was left hanging in midair while the mule he was riding, kept on going. We can picture this, can't we? When one of the men saw what happened, he told Joab, "I just saw Absalom hanging in an oak tree." Joab said to the man who had told him this, "What? You saw him? Why didn't you strike him to the ground right there? Then I would have had to give you 10 shekels of silver and a warrior's belt." But the man replied, "Even if 1,000 shekels were weighed out into my hands, I would not lay a hand on the king's son. In our hearing, the king commanded you and Abishai and Ittai, protect the young man Absalom for my sake. And if I had put my life in jeopardy and nothing is hidden from the king, you would have kept your distance from me." Joab said, "I'm not going to wait like this for you." So he took 3 javelins in his hand and plunged them into Absalom's heart while Absalom was still alive in the oak tree. And 10 of Joab's armor bearers surrounded Absalom, struck him, and killed him. Then Joab sounded the trumpet, and the troops stopped pursuing Israel, for Joab halted them. They took Absalom, threw him into a big pit in the forest, and piled up a large heap of rocks over him. Meanwhile, all the Israelites fled to their homes. During his lifetime, Absalom had taken a pillar and erected it in the king's valley as a monument to himself, for he thought, "I have no son to carry on the memory of my name." He named the pillar after himself, and it is called Absalom's monument to this day. All right. What do you notice? We've got a lot going on here. What do you notice? Nate? Yes. The hair has come back. Just think about this for a moment. How many chapters ago were we introduced to Absalom, and how were we introduced to him? He was good looking, and he had luscious hair. That's how we were introduced to him. And now we find that it becomes his downfall. He's known for it, and now he's going to be really known for it. Okay, what else do you notice, Deanne? Oh, yours says his head got caught. Okay.
I'm still having a hard time picturing why he could not get out of the tree. Whatever.
You're like, weakling, get out of the tree. I've tried to picture this. I'm sure all of you have too. And I'm thinking that the hair is the way he got caught. And the reason I think that is, if your hair gets caught, it's almost like hanging from a noose. There's not much you can do eventually to grab hold and get anything. You're caught in this large oak. Now, did he have a knot in it? I mean, like, what happened? I have no idea. The author is not interested in the details. What the author is interested in is this great thing that has marked him as a man. Part of what won him over to people is now going to be the downfall.
Well, I was just going to say, I used to have really long hair, and I garden a lot, and I literally a rose bush.
Okay.
And I thought I was going to have to cut my hair off.
So Lynette is confessing that she got her own hair caught in a rose bush one time and thought she was going to have to cut your hair off. Yeah. Similar thing I had in my life with peanut butter. And I'll blame my brothers. Yeah. Yeah, this is really, or gum. Peanut butter is used to get the gum out. Anyway. Yeah, this is really intense. It's a very intense moment. And so Absalom is caught by this, and the guy sees it. Keith, what are you noticing?
Well, in that same chapter, they weighed his hair.
Yeah, they weighed his hair, and it's that thick. Yeah.
So maybe that 10 pounds of hair was not coming out.
That's right. What else are you noticing here? Okay, now that's interpretation, but we're still going to allow it. That's the providence of God that has gotten him stuck there. But let's dig into that here in a little bit. Greg, what were you going to say?
Well, Joab gripes at the guy that had seen him.
Yeah.
Could have killed him.
Okay, so there's a man who has seen him. Sandra? Oh, okay. Also interpretation, but we'll go with it.
Well, why did Joab and then other guys come in?
Okay, you got it back. Observatory question. Why did so many people have to be there to kill him? But so there's a man that's there, and he sees it, a soldier, and he sees it. And instead of doing anything about it, he goes back and tells Joab, and Joab's response is, you could have killed him and you left him, so he quickly makes his way there. And you're just identifying overkill. So let's just name how he was killed. 3 spears directly into the heart. I guess if you've got a guy hanging there, you can do it really easy. Okay. 3 spears directly in the heart, and then 10 men who gather around him. And what was the way it says? They struck him and killed him. Yeah, why was he not already dead from the javelin? That was my question. I don't know. So, Sandra's wondering, is this overkill? The definition of overkill. Yeah. Okay. Tiffany, were you going to say something? Okay. I think it's important to go to that first guy's response. That's right. He brings up what the whole army heard David say to the commanders. Be gentle with the young man, Absalom. David?
Yeah, he went back through the instructions. And remember what the king told us.
Yes, that's right. Karen? Okay, he does. That's right. He acknowledges that if nothing is unknown to the king, someone's going to tell him. And when they do, you're going to keep your distance. And this is a smart soldier. Do you remember the guy who comes to tell David that Jonathan and Saul have died? You remember this? And he's so excited to tell David because Saul is his enemy. And what does David do? Kill him. You struck down the Lord's anointed. I would think that story has rippled through the people who follow David. This guy knows what he's doing. He's smart. I heard the king. I'm not doing it. Joab, though, is not interested. Fine. I'll do it. And he goes and kills this man. This is going to be dealt with in chapters beyond. Nancy? That's interesting. Yeah, why is his name not said? You know, the only thing I would probably say is it's the only time he comes up, and he's not someone with a title. I'm sure there's a lot of other reasons we could come up with for why his name's not mentioned, but he doesn't have a title. I think what we're going to find as most important is Joab's actions. So I wanted to get into the next section, but we definitely don't have time. David's going to have a specific reaction, not next week, but 2 weeks from now, because next week is Ash Wednesday. So we're going to come back to this text, but we feel the tension now. Absalom's been killed. Hallelujah. Oh, let me go back. This does seem to be a providential thing, doesn't it? This is not happenstance. It's not ever stated clearly the providence of God at work here, but clearly this gift that's been given to Absalom in luscious hair has become his downfall. God can use even the great things in our life to do anything with. And so this guy is hanging out here. Absalom is done. Boom, he's gone. Now, one thing I wanted you to note that we didn't say, but just look in verse 17. Meanwhile, all the Israelites fled to their homes. This is why I wanted to be very clear about who the Israelites are. This is not David's men. They're not going back to their homes because they won. These are the people who were following Absalom. This phrase is very common in biblical text and in Hebrew. This idea of fleeing back to your homes is most commonly used with armies that have been defeated. It's escaping. They head back to their homes. That means their safety. And now there is a moment where they have a chance to gain some peace. Okay? So Absalom is done, but there's still the tension of recognizing that Absalom has been killed by Joab, and they were directly told by the king, don't do that. Okay, so we'll get into that in a couple weeks. Next week is Ash Wednesday, and I want to just tell you, if you've never practiced Lent, if you've never participated in Ash Wednesday service, there's no better time than this year to do it. It is one of the most important seasons of the year, especially here in this church. It's starting a moment, 40 days of self-examination and prayer, preparing us for the Holy Week and what we find on Resurrection Sunday, on Easter Sunday. Ash Wednesday kicks it all off. And if you've never been imposed with ashes and that freaks you out, come talk to me. I'd love to visit with you about it. It's a moment for us to recognize our own humanity, our own need for divine grace, and it's the place of meeting God in His grace as we recognize our own need for it. It's a powerful time, and we'll have that next week. We'll have dinner at 5:30, and then we'll have worship beginning at 6:30. So come and be a part of it. I think you will not regret it. It's a really powerful time for us together. Let me say a prayer, and then we'll all go eat. Lord, thank you for this time of just digging into your word. And we're grateful. We're grateful for getting to watch your power at work. As we read of it, would you help it not to be just something that happened a long time ago for us? But could we recognize that you are the same God that was, and that is, that will be. And so your ability to even do things like this here and now today is real, and it's right in front of us. So we worship you, and we honor you, and we pray this in your holy name. Amen.